What's up, guys? How we doing? How we doing? We got the Peacemaker finale, and boy, what a discussion we're about to have. So this is just going to be a review of this episode. I'm going to go through and binge watch the season, and then I'll do an entire season review. But this is just a review of the finale, and this is where you got to put your money where your mouth is and give your honest thoughts on something. Just right off the bat, I don't know if I'm crazy, but I did not like this episode at all, actually. I'll walk you through it. I'll talk about what I liked and didn't like, but overall, I didn't care for it. And it depends on so many things. It depends on so many factors, how you're looking at the episode. If you're like a huge fan of Peacemaker or don't really care about him and you're just, you know, thinking about the overall picture. But as a contained show, as a finale to a TV show that we've waited 3 years to get a second season for, a finality to this show with these characters. And James Gunn himself said this could be the last episode of Peacemaker. We may not. He said that we're going to see them again. You know, we'll see these characters again. But whether that's in the form of a TV show, we don't know. And I watched the companion podcast, and it did not make me feel a whole lot better about this episode. And if you're looking at it as like, man, we have to wait some time to get more answers on this, or maybe even, like, it just wasn't, the season was all about a deep dive into a character, and Chris and him feeling like he didn't belong, and going and, you know, inserting himself in this parallel universe, in this Nazi dimension, and it fucks things up there. And then this finale, I don't know, man. It was anticlimactic. It felt like a completely different. I was so excited at that runtime. I had been bitching about the episode runtimes. This episode was 68 minutes, including the credits. I was so excited, man. So let's talk about the episode. So we open up and we finally see that night on the boat that happened between Peacemaker and Amelia that has been talked about throughout the entire season. And they went onto a boat and saw the band Nelson. And we see that they got along, that they were getting along really well. They were bouncing off of each other really well. They had this chemistry and they kissed. They didn't fuck like we all assumed. They just kissed. And it wasn't just a kiss. It was like a really magical, like, meant a lot kiss to both of them. And, you know, Harcourt just walked away right after kissing Peacemaker of, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. And then we get the intro. So then we get to, after the intro, we see Peacemaker, he's in jail and he's denying visitation for anybody to see him. And then we go to Argus. And now Argus has control of this quantum unfolding chamber. And Rick Flag Sr. has a plan. We don't know what it is at this moment, but he's basically making Argus employees just go through all these doors, any door that they can, risking their lives. And we see a lot of different universes, which was cool. We see the Imp dimension that was referenced in episode 2? Episode 1 or 2? No, 2. 1. 2. Pretty sure it was episode 1. I'm sorry. I'll cut that. It was episode 1. Yeah. Where Augie's talking about how he thinks one of the imps jerked off into his Cheerios and whatnot, and that Chris was trying to steal one of the peppermints. So we got to see that universe, and that Augie actually wasn't embellishing that these dudes are little perverts because Agent Fruley had one of the imps on his mask and he was humping his mask. I thought that was a neat little detail that not even I caught until the companion podcast. But we see all these different universes, man. We get that imp universe. We get we see the spider universe with the skulls. No idea what's going on there. We get a zombie universe, but people are dying. Cutie Pie dies in the imp universe. He has his face eaten off, and people are dying. And while people are dying, Rick Flag and the team are over here celebrating. He's now partnered with Happerson, Otis, another woman that worked with Lex Luthor, and Harcourt is part of the team sometimes going into these places and is like, what the fuck is happening? What is he having us do? Look for? Why? What are our soldiers dying for? And then we go to Adebayo and Vigilante, and they're bummed out that Peacemaker's in jail, and Adebayo convinces him to use the money to bail him out by manipulating him and saying, well, I guess I'm just better friends with Chris than you, I'm willing to take on a curse and use blood money to get him out and you're not, and manipulates him, and they get Chris out. Chris gets eagerly and he runs away to a motel, and nobody knows where he is. And John Economos and Harcourt talk about how fucked up what's going on is, and they don't know why they're going through all this. They're just blindly going into universes and how dangerous this is, and that all they know is that Rick is wanting to find a place that, has the habitat of Earth to maybe repopulate, and Economos, says, when has Argus ever been for the good of the people? And then we get a beautiful montage of Stop Fucking My Heart in the Ass by Steel Panther. To soldiers dying and Rick Flag celebrating and Peacemaker off in the hotel, drinking and being by himself. And then Argus finally finds what they're looking for. They find a habitat that seems clear of any threats, that the gravity, that everything is like Earth, basically. And giant success. And then we find out that Rick Flag, he goes and has a meeting with the, Secretary of State, something like that. The guy that we saw in Superman when Lex Luthor was trying to convince them to go to get rid of metahumans. Rick is proposing that we stick all the metahumans, supposedly just prisoners or villains or whatever, in this universe, that they'll never know that they can survive there, and that they'll never know where the door is going to come in, and just stick them there forever. And that's, I'm sure Ricky would be really proud of you. How did Ricky die? Because of the head of Argus caring more about, screwing over Americans and hiding the truth from them than doing the right thing. Do you think Ricky would be proud that his father, now the head of Argus, is, doing the same shit that led to Ricky's death? Probably not. And yeah, that we find out that basically that's what he wants to do with metahumans. Supposedly just the ones he uses, the fact that, prisoners are escaping from Belle Reve, blah, blah. But then Sasha, she's a cyborg. And this is kind of where she ends her relationship with Rick. Meanwhile, the 11th Street kids track down Peacemaker. And have a very emotional talk with him about, like, that that death follows him when he listens to other people. That when he listens to himself, even though he's big and he's dumb, he is beautiful. And that he's inspired Adebayo and added magic to her life. And it really was a beautiful speech and acting from Adebayo. And, all the 11th Street kids reassure him that, like, he's a beautiful person when he's himself. And fuck this, we need to stand up and do something about it. Argus doesn't want to do the right thing. You killed Rick Flag because you were listening to Argus. You killed your brother because you were listening to your dad. Let's fucking do the right thing. And they take all of Vigilante's money. They start the business Checkmate, which, I haven't read the comics or anything, but I do watch a lot of videos about deep dives into comics, and Checkmate is a part of the comics, and now we know the 11th Street Kids are Checkmate, which is a spy agency that's basically wants to do the right thing, unlike Argus. Am I leaving anything out before we get to my rant? Yeah, there was a scene where to find Peacemaker, they needed to scan to track the bomb in his head, basically. And we had a funny scene of John Economos just, like, blowing it, trying to stall while they're using the computer right in front of Happerson, which doesn't make any fucking sense how they fell for that. The three of them come in, act very suspicious, and then leave right after John Economos acts as suspicious as humanly possible. But whatever, it works out. Then they find Peacemaker, and like I said, they start Checkmate. We got Agent Froley that joins them. We have Sasha that joins them after the meeting with Rick. Sasha goes and meets up with Adebayo, and Rip Jagger, Judo Master, joins them. And we get a slow walk montage of them walking away from Checkmate. After watching the companion podcast, James Gunn said, this is where the script was initially supposed to end. That this was the original ending of this finale. And if that was the original ending, I would still be saying what I'm saying about my complaints on the episode. But let's go on to what he decided to add. Peacemaker, we see, him and Harcourt are actually a thing. They attend a Roxy Shazam concert, the band that does the intro. And James Gunn in the podcast says this is current, like this wasn't a flashback to the boat. So, like, Peacemaker and Harcourt are, like, together now. And they're doing the right thing. The 11th Street Kids, that's how their story, seemingly, that's the direction they're going in. So they started Checkmate and they're working together. Then we just had to add the last 10 minutes. And the last 10 minutes are Peacemaker gets kidnapped by Rick Flag, and he gets put in the fucking universe that is supposed to have metahuman prisoners in it. And, man, while it was happening, I was like, James, please don't fucking end it like this, man. Please don't do that. Like, it was such, like, the episode by this point had been so anticlimactic that, like, I would have preferred the show to end on episode 7, and just with John going to jail. And I would have preferred the ending of them slow walking from Checkmate, but I still would have my issues with this episode, because even if that was the ending too, it's still a pretty anticlimactic finale. But he leaves fucking Peacemaker in that universe, says this is for Ricky, which is just total bullshit at this point. And he closes the portal. I was hoping that we were going to get a fight, that right before he closes the portal, that Peacemaker and Rick Flag were going to fucking throw down. Peacemaker wins and he goes about his life. But no, Rick Flag wins. And then we hear creatures and find out that this environment is not as safe as we thought it was, and Peacemaker is now trapped in it. Now look, I'm not mad at this episode for ending on a cliffhanger. That's fine. That's how seasons work. But In fact, a lot of the times the episodes end on a cliffhanger. They're so easily undone. Think the last season when we figured out Myrn was a butterfly and Adebayo discovered it. Right? We ended on that cliffhanger. Oh, fuck. It looks like Myrn's going to attack Adebayo, and then it's undone in 1 second. You know, Harcourt shows up and is like, oh, she knows? No biggie. So, like, and James Gunn did say, you know, that we will see these characters again, but he said that this could very well be the last episode of Peacemaker. That this could be it. Like, and he did say that we will see Peacemaker and the 11th Street Kids again, whether that's through a TV show, whether that's through a movie, we don't know. I'm trying to look at this because I've done a lot of research, and this could be hints at Darkseid. So, like, according to the comics of the Salvation Planet, there are gods of apocalypse on there, and this could be all leading to Darkseid. What it's setting up is cool. Don't get me wrong. I understand that we have a bigger world, and this is a very grounded take on a character that, you know, isn't one of the big guys like Superman and whatnot. But I really hope James Gunn didn't just use these characters that we've grown to love and watch these 2 seasons of, and that now, like, say Man of Tomorrow just has a quick cameo of Peacemaker and that's it, that's all we're gonna get from them now. This was a shitty way to end it, man. The episode, like, there's so many different routes you could have gone. The fact that what I expected to happen was as they were going through all the doors, they were going to go through Earth X, which would now be in probably the police Argus's hands on Earth X. I thought maybe we were going to get a Triumph versus Peacemaker finale. The fact that that's how we left Earth X is fucking crazy. I thought we were going to get a Peacemaker versus Rick Flag, something. But really, this episode just felt detached from the rest of the season. The season was about Peacemaker wanting to leave this world, going to a universe that he thought was perfect, and it turned out to be a Nazi universe. And this episode just had absolutely, like, it summed everything up for the 11th Street Kids and wrapped it in a bow really quickly, but without any climactic event. And I can't be alone in thinking, like, if we're looking at this in terms of, like, setting up the bigger picture and caring about Superman, like, if you aren't really a big Peacemaker fan and whatnot, then the ending I could see making you happy. And it's not the ending that I'm unhappy with, it's the episode as a whole. Like I said, even if it ended at them slow walking away from Checkmate, like, just it's such an intense season, building and building, and just ended on a dud, is how it feels. And I was talking about it on stream last night because I was trying to gather my thoughts for this video, because my initial reaction to it was like, I don't like that. I don't like that they just ended it that way, and I don't like, after watching the podcast, I'm now even more worried after James Gunn said, this is it. This might be the last episode. So, yes, we're obviously going to see the 11th Street Kids again since they're Checkmate. But, so I was streaming last night, and for the second time ever, somebody that wasn't part of my YouTube channel actually joined, and we were discussing the finale, and he agreed that it was anticlimactic, but he thought that maybe Peacemaker would be a larger part of Man of Tomorrow, and that Peacemaker may even become so big that he's in the Justice League. And while I would like that, and I think that would make this finale better, Peacemaker being a big part of Man of Tomorrow and a big part of the metahuman team going forward, I just don't see that happening. I just don't see, like, with the way James Gunn talked about it, the fact that the script was originally supposed to end at the Checkmate slow montage, and James Gunn just threw that in there for shits and giggles. I really don't think they have big plans for Peacemaker right now in the future. So, looking at this as a TV show, as possibly the final episode of a TV show, this was a shitty finale. This finality, that's the point of a finale. Of course, if you're going to have another season, you end on a cliffhanger. There's nothing wrong with that. But finality. And we don't know if we're going to see these characters again, when, if it's just going to be a cameo here and there, if it's going to be a show, if they're going to get their own movie. If Peacemaker has a huge part in Man of Tomorrow, then I think that would make the finale a little bit better, because we're not waiting 3 years to have our questions answered on what the fuck is going to happen to him. Because the fact that James Gunn is confirming that we will see him again means he isn't going to die. Like, he's not going to be stranded on this universe and killed. That's not how it ended. But if this is it, and Man of Tomorrow comes out, and there's just like a brief cameo of Peacemaker, and going forward, the 11th Street Kids and Peacemaker are really just a tiny, tiny part of the DCU, and this was the end for them, then yes, this was a shitty finale, man. This was a shitty finale. Anticlimactic, left on a horrible cliffhanger that we'll get answers to soon in the movie, but will just be a quick undo of leaving Peacemaker there, and then we won't know more. Like, this was a great show. Like, if you're a Peacemaker fan and you're watching this video, we fell in love with these characters, and that's the beauty of James Gunn's writing. But, like, please tell me you didn't just make us fall in love with these characters to just use them as a stepping stone to build your universe and throw them the fuck away. Because that's what it feels like happened. That's what it feels like happened. It isn't satisfying as a viewer to see Rick Flag win. It isn't satisfying to know that, like, if we do get another season, it could be another couple years. Like, obviously, this Salvation World and whatnot, Peacemaker being stranded there, I think will be undone in the movie. And I would love for Peacemaker to be a big part of this universe. But I just don't see that happening. Like, the person I was talking to on stream, you know, he was talking about him even being part of the Justice League. I would love that personally, but think about it. Think about Peacemaker being next to Mr. Terrific, Superman, the Green Lantern. Like, I just don't see that route. And if that's not the route we're going, and then it seems like the future of Peacemaker is very... I mean, James Gunn literally cried in the podcast yesterday. He really cares about this. He's said multiple times that Peacemaker has been his favorite project, especially season 1. But I hate that the finale to an awesome show was just a setup for a movie that may not even that may just have Peacemaker in it for a second, and then that's just it. That, like, even like I said, pretend it ended at them walking away from Checkmate. Pretend that it ended there. It still, as an episode, as a finale, just felt like a nothing burger. Just felt like a nothing burger. I did leave out Adebayo and Kia, I think her name is, breaking up. And while I never really bought into their relationship because, like, their chemistry just didn't seem there was a beautiful speech in that. A lot of people shit on their relationship, and like I said, like, we just didn't dive deep enough into it, you know? But I thought it was a very beautiful conversation about how you can love someone and you can meet the right person. And when you're younger, you know, like, especially around, like, 18 and you're dating, you think that you're supposed to build your life around the right person. When you get older, you realize that a person is meant to complement your life, that you guys and your wants and your lives independently are supposed to complement each other's and make each other burn brighter. Not sacrificing your wants for your partner's, not yes, in relationships, some sacrifices need to be made, but this was an important conversation because sometimes you can meet the right person, but just be going on two different paths and not be at the right point in life for each other. And I did think it was a beautiful conversation, worth mentioning. But yeah, man, as a finale, it was fucking disappointing. It was disappointing. It really was. I don't know how I feel about the overall season. Like I said, I'm gonna binge watch it and then give a total season review. This is just this episode thoughts, but and don't get me wrong, the bigger things it's setting up, the theories out there that this could be connected to fucking Darkseid and like what it's setting up, loved that. Anticlimactic ending for a bigger setup in Superman. Will it be worth it for Peacemaker fans? Not if Peacemaker isn't a part of it. Not really, And I don't know. This finale had me all just twisted up, thinking like, damn, I wish I could have said that I loved that, but I don't. And then I watched the podcast hoping to get some answers, and he starts it off with, this might be the last episode of Peacemaker, and it's like, okay, that makes it even worse. The last thing he said on the podcast was, you will see them again. You will see the 11th Street Kid. You will see Peacemaker again. To what capacity, we don't know. And from what it sounds like, no, it doesn't sound like Peacemaker is going to be a big part of Man of Tomorrow. So if he's not, and say Man of Tomorrow is about Lex and Superman need to team up to stop Argus and rescue metahumans from this world because now God of Apocalypse, the creatures or whatever are there, and it's just a cameo of John Cena running out. Like, yeah, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm being selfish as a viewer for wanting a climactic. I can deal without having a climactic ending. Like, it doesn't have to end on a fight versus Triumph or a fight versus Rick Flag. But wouldn't the ending been so much better if, as Rick Flag's going to, close the portal, fucking John Cena beats his ass, and then that's it? That still could have set up what James Gunn was setting up, and we get a good ending for Peacemaker. And instead, he's just stuck there, and now we don't know when we're going to get answers. And if we do, it could be in cameo. Like, if you look at it as the perspective of the bigger universe, I could see people liking it. If you're looking at it contained as a finale to a show, it wasn't a good finale, man. And that sucks. That sucks to say out loud. That sucks. I love James Gunn's work. I believe in his vision. But God, man, I hope Peacemaker is a big part of the DCU, but I just don't see that happening. And because I just don't see it happening. Just because James Gunn loves the character doesn't mean everybody does. As we move on to bigger superheroes like Superman and whatnot, yes, I do think Peacemaker and these smaller superhero gangs like Creature Commandos are going to be less... I don't know, man. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Did you love the finale? What did you think? Even if the ending would have been at them slow walking out of Checkmates, I still would have thought it wasn't a good episode because it was just anticlimactic. We wrapped up all of his mental health problems very quickly. We didn't touch on anything on Earth X. We just completely left that alone. And, yeah, I don't know. I feel so many conflicting ways about the finale, and it's not like we have to wait 3 years for our questions to be answered, which is nice. We only got to wait till the next movie, but like, to what capacity are we going to see Peacemaker? Like, I just hate that it ended like that. Knowing that we may not see much of Peacemaker anymore, I hate that it ended like that. Yeah, there's other ways you could have gotten the point across without screwing Peacemaker. And, like, unless he's going to be a bigger part of the universe, which I don't think he is, as a contained show, as a finale. This episode was shit. That's my honest review. It's my honest review. I love you guys. Let me know what you think. This is gonna be a very divisive episode for sure. As far as what James Gunn is setting up in the universe, it looks awesome. As far as this show goes, it deserved a better cherry on top, you know? Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And it's been really fun reviewing this with you, and thank you for checking them out. And I appreciate you. We got a couple more episodes of Gen V to review, and then I'm going to try to pick a movie once a week. But this has been fun to review with you guys and talk about. And yeah, thank you for being a part of it. Bye.